get off and back on again?
Yeah, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to end it,
Okay, and?
minimize it like
Okay.
this. Here, I'll show you. So if we end it, it goes kind of.
You have to wait to come back up and minimize it?
Yeah,
Okay.
then minimize it. And then
And
the
then
video
go.
is set
Okay.
here. And once I hit play, it'll start
Okay.
up. It's weird. But I'll be here.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'll be here for it.
Thank goodness. I have to go right one.
Testing.
Did you enjoy hearing John?
1, 2.
Yeah. Hi.
Kathleen told me that you may know more about the sandwiches than anyone else.
I know a little because I ordered them. So what do you need?
I am lethally allergic to sesame. Is it in the bread?
I don't think so. It's just plain old wheat bread. I did not ask about the sesame, but it's wheat bread normally doesn't have sesame
But
in
you
it.
don't know for sure.
I don't know for
Okay,
sure. I'm
thank
sorry,
you.
Jim. No. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. know we have it. Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to start the meeting in a few minutes as soon as our minister for the day gets his lunch and sits down. So we'll start in a few minutes. Thank you. What? We have 1 minute? Okay. That's good. Is that what time is it? I like that.
Should have taped it down.
I'm waiting for John. yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the annual meeting for 2019 of the First Unitarian Universalist Society of San Francisco. I'm so pleased to see everybody here, and I wanted you to know that we had to wait till 12:30 exactly because that's when the live stream goes live. So if you're watching on live stream, welcome. I'm sorry you don't get any lunch. I'm going to start out the afternoon session by having John say a few opening words. Thank you.
I invite you now to join me simply in giving thanks. Giving thanks for the gift of being, the unmerited beauty of being itself. Giving thanks for the gift of being here in this hallowed space, this sanctuary of the free human spirit. Giving thanks for being here together in covenanted community, where each voice is treasured and where the heritage of the Spirit is passed on from generation to generation. We are here together to perform an annual ritual of care and concern for the community. May these moments together be marked by the best of the spirit of this place and of our own lives. And may we see to it that those who will receive this community from our hands receive it stronger than when we found it. So may it be. Amen.
So we're going to watch a video, Vanessa, that we filmed late in the week.
Where is everybody? I thought it was the annual meeting today. Early. Shoot. So, let me just remind you, I'm in New York at Sherry's ordination. Let me just remind you of some of what this year involved. Do you remember that we started the year celebrating the 50th anniversary of this center? That was the beginning of the year. What is this year involved? We hired Dr. Diane Johnson to lead us through the mission vision process. We did the World Cafe, focus groups. A survey is currently awaiting your response. And this summer, we're going to be distilling it for a vision and a mission and a strategic plan. Most Sunday mornings, there was a forum with speakers, everything from Israel and Palestine, the growing economic divide, issues of criminal justice reform, so many current topics. We fed the hungry. We housed our homeless friends for 3 to 4 weeks, making them breakfast at early hours and dinner, welcoming them, making this home their home while we advocated for change in our housing and homelessness. We looked at the issue of dismantling white supremacy and the goal of wholeness, as the board put it, reading White Fragility, doing, for some of us, a training in dismantling white supremacy. So much work beginning, looking at the issues that are important to us in transforming our congregation and the world. We asked who had 100% green power and advocated for people thinking clearly about really what it means to protect the environment. The Human Rights Working Group did so much, including interviewing our members who are people of color and creating a 30-minute video that we are going to be sharing with the denomination in 2 weeks at our General Assembly. We worshiped together, we had Easter together, and Christmas, and all kinds of holidays. Celebrated Passover with a Seder. We did so much. We had high tea and raised money while doing it. We had a retreat. We had our pagan interest circle gather for rituals. There's so much we did this year. That's just touching the surface. We lost people we loved. We welcomed new children and new lives into our family. And next year, we're going to start with a new strategic plan and a mission and a vision and this articulation of what next. So I'm so sorry I can't be with you all today to celebrate what was an incredible and an incredibly busy year. But I'm thinking of you and already starting to look forward to all the things that we're planning for next year. Blessings, everybody. I'll give your blessings and welcome into ministry to Sherry this afternoon. Bye.
Thank you, Guru. So again, welcome. I follow Vanessa. Those are hard shoes to fill, so I'm not going to try. I'm Carrie Steer-Salazar, the current moderator of your Board of Trustees. And it's been quite an honor this year to be on such an awesome board. I won't actually give much of a report because Vanessa gave a really good report already. I will say that the board went into this year with a balanced budget. We ended the year with a balanced budget except for overages that had to do with the mighty rains this winter and the leak in the roof that caused and that. But other than that, in operating expenses, we came in right on budget. So I'm happy about that. Thank you, everybody. We start next year with a balanced budget. So I think we're heading in the right direction. It's meant a lot of different sacrifices and thinking hard about how we're going to spend our dollars wisely. And that is the job, I think, of the board. And I'm very pleased to be on such a great board of trustees. So that is my report. Keep it short. So we sort of have to look this way so I can do this. So we've done the annual reports, and now I'm going to appoint our parliamentarian and our two tellers. Scott Benbow, our treasurer for this year on the board, is going to be our parliamentarian. And there he is in the front, checking things out. Our two tellers are in the back, Gail Reynolds and Rochelle Fortier, also board members, and they'll be collecting ballots and letting us know how that goes. And we are here looking at the agenda. So we're going to look at the approval for the minutes. I'm going to introduce the Board of Trustee members are here and the people who are running for the board, those who are here. And the nominating committee will collect your ballots. We'll do appreciation of committees and volunteers, staff appreciation. We will sit in memory of the people who died this year, who were members of our church. We have a wonderful video from Bob Bacon on the May Treat Morrison Trust. I think you all know, as part of her trust to the church, the trust specified that we read the trust each and every year at the annual meeting. So that's what we're going to do. We'll have the presentation of the Anne Dillon Award, the announcement of the election results, which shouldn't surprise anybody since this is a slate, and then adjourn our meeting. Are there questions about the agenda? Scott?
Is there a quorum here?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Yes, we have achieved a quorum. A quorum currently is 49 voting members. Thank you, Scott. That's why you have parliamentarians in the room. Okay? So all of you, when you came in, should have received a 2-page paper. These are the minutes from the last annual meeting, and I know everybody has a great memory and can know exactly what happened last year at this time. But part of being at the annual meeting is that we approved the minutes from the prior annual meeting. So I need a motion to approve. I'm sorry. Oh, Mary, thank you. I have a second for that. Thank you, Steve. So the minutes have been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes. Is there discussion or are there any corrections to be made on those minutes? Hearing none. Those in favor of approving the minutes from the 2018 meeting, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Abstentions. Thank you very much. Now I want to introduce our Board of Trustees. Many of our current trustee members are gone, but I want to recognize those who are in the room. I've already introduced Scott Benbow, our treasurer. Rochelle Fortier, who is our vice moderator, is in the back checking people in. Hi, Rochelle. Gail Reynolds, also checking people in the back. Wave. Myself. And Chris Rodriguez is here over in the corner. He's manning the wine for us. Lori, are you in the room? Lori, there she is. Do you want to stand up for a second? Lori Lai is running for your board. She's one of our members. And Reese Hart, I don't think is here. I think he's out of town. So those are the board members. Would the members of the nominating committee who are here present please stand? Great. So Kathleen, Megan, sorry, had a brain freeze there for a minute. Is there anybody else from the nominating committee who's here present? And the members who are running for the nominating committee next year, are those members here? Great. Okay. Can you introduce yourself? Wonderful. Thank you, Sam. And Megan, you're the incumbent person. So those are your representatives. As you know, we're running a slate. There aren't additional choices that you can vote for, but I wanted Scott to speak for a few minutes about our board of our bylaws and why we do that.
Our bylaws do allow write-in candidates, but in order to write in a candidate, a name must be submitted 40 days prior to the annual meeting. So 325 days from today, if you would like to run next year, you'll have that opportunity. I'm sure that I wasn't here when that bylaw was created, but I have a feeling it had something to do with keeping meetings as orderly as possible. Nominations from the floor at the last minute are a little bit difficult to deal with. The only circumstance under which a nomination from the floor could be heard is when there are not enough candidates for the available spots on the board, and there are this year. So if you'd like to read more about this, check out the bylaws, and we'll see you next year.
So we do want to have a special recognition of the fact that we have 2 Board of Trustee members who are leaving the board. Peter Gross, who's not here, I took that picture of him actually the day that we were looking at the budget for this year. And it was written on there's so many things, and it's written on such paper that he really we all needed to have a magnifying glass in order to see it. And Gail, could you come forward for a moment since you are here? You, Miss Reynolds. I know. Gail, as you know, most of us, when you get on the board, it's a 2-year term, and you can run up to 3 times in a row, so you have 6 years of service total before you're termed out. And Gail is one of our people that is being termed out of the board, and I'm going to miss you greatly. You've been wonderful, so thank you so much. So yeah, for those of you who don't come to board meetings, you might not know, it's a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of work and commitment. So it'd be great to have a round of applause for our outgoing board and incoming board members. Thank you. Oops. I cannot do this thing. So I want to take a minute to thank all of our committees and volunteers. This picture is actually of the music committee doing the homeless shelter one evening. And we just have a lot of fun. I think most of the people who do the homeless shelter find that it's a very satisfying volunteer opportunity. So anybody who hasn't done that, I highly, highly encourage you to come to the winter shelter, cook breakfast or dinner, and find out what that's all about. We had a lot of fun. There are so many committees and people to thank that I can't possibly do it in the time we have allotted. But you should have all received the annual report. It was mailed electronically to you on Thursday. And there are some that'll be available in the office for those who prefer it. In that report are committee meeting sort of summaries of the committees as told by their chairs. And it's a wonderful read, and it will give you such a great opportunity to reflect on all the work that we've done this year, all the hard work that our volunteers do, and all the volunteer time. If you added up the hours that people put in here, I think it would be pretty incredible. So not everybody is able to stand up, but it would be great to see those who were on a committee or who volunteered not on a committee but just doing some other kind of volunteering in the office or cleaning up the garden or something. Signify that by raising your hands. So if you take a look around, you can see that we're just about 100% church of volunteerism and committeeism, which I just think is wonderful. So I really wanted to thank you as a member of the board for all the work you've done, because we can't do what we want to do without all of you. So thank you so much. John, I need you again. Each year, as you know, we have an opportunity to reflect on the people who've passed away during the year. And this was a bad year.
When I was UUA president, one of my duties was to read the names of the ministers who had died each year in the service of the living tradition of the ministry. When I started, there were a few people that I didn't know who had already retired before I became a minister. By the time I ended, I knew every name. That's certainly true of these precious souls, whom we now hold in our hearts. Fran Chan, Dolores Fletcher, Vera Lee, Maria Solis, Sam Thorne. Sam signed the membership book just days before he died. And Sonny Willis. They cannot be replaced, but they can be remembered, and we can do their memory honor. So may it be.
Thank you, John. It's especially hard for the choir because we lost two of our beloved members this year, Vera and Maria. So I'm going to ask our two tellers to come and collect ballots from whoever might still have them in their hands so that we can officially finish our vote. One of the reasons that we do this, even though we have a slate of candidates this year, is because the bylaws indicate that we need a paper ballot. And so it's another thing we may have to look at in the future to say if there's a slate of candidates, maybe a ballot, maybe taking trees up isn't that necessary, especially since you can't write anybody in. So. Yeah. I need my video guru one more time. Yeah. What we're going to do now, as we mentioned before, the May Treat Morrison Trust has something in the trust that says we must read the trust every year. Bob Bacon has taken that role, and he loves it. And since he was gone this year, we videotaped him. So here we go.
Hi, I'm Bob Bacon. I speak here every year at the annual meeting about the philanthropy of the late May Treat Morrison. I am out of town on vacation today, but we continue to benefit from Mrs. Morrison's work, so I'm have the pleasure of reporting to you by video today. Go ahead. At the annual meeting, we celebrate many things, and one of them is our connection with a remarkable woman who none of us ever met. May Treat Morrison could have been one of the people that the hymn writer was talking about when he wrote about lives that speak and deeds that beckon. May Treat was born and grew up in San Francisco. She went to UC Berkeley. She was 19 years old when she graduated, one of 3 women in the class of 1878. And after that, she did something even more remarkable. She went to Europe for graduate study in art history. While she was there, she made some money by freelance writing articles about European topics and selling them to newspapers and magazines back home in California. She came back from Europe. She taught school here in California for a number of years. When she was in her mid-30s, she reconnected with one of her classmates from Berkeley, Alexander Morrison. They were married in 1893. She was 35. And in accordance with the custom of the day, she had to give up her teaching career when she got married. She began her second career. The phrase full-time volunteer hadn't been invented yet, but that's what she was. The list of organizations that she worked with is very long. The San Francisco Opera lists her as one of its founders. She was on the Board of Trustees of Mills College. She served a term as the national president of AAUW, the American Association of University Women. Aha, I hear you say, all traditional women's roles. Then how do you explain her term almost 100 years ago on the Board of Trustees of the California Academy of Sciences? When she was 63 years old, Mrs. Morrison was very suddenly, very unexpectedly widowed. And overnight in 1922, she became the sole owner of property worth $1.8 million, an amount that would be in the 8 figures in today's value. And she spent the rest of her life giving it away. She made many charitable gifts in her lifetime. When she died in 1939, she made charitable gifts in her will. She left the remainder of her estate in a trust with instructions to the trustee that he was to give it all away within 20 years. Both she and her trustee were very partial to endowment gifts, to gifts that cannot be spent but must be invested to provide income every year in perpetuity. We can be grateful to her for that. If she had made spendable gifts, all the money would have been gone before most of us were born. She and her trustee made gifts to several dozen organizations, including this church. Her largest gifts were at the University of California. You can go to the Berkeley campus to the Morrison Library and Morrison Hall. She made large gifts to the California Academy of Sciences. You can visit the Morrison Planetarium in Golden Gate Park. We are in very distinguished company among the recipients of Mrs. Morrison's philanthropy. And most of us can't make dozens of endowment gifts, but a lot of us could make 1 or 2. And more importantly than that, her life speaks to us even if we don't have the money and the time that she had. It speaks to us of pioneering, of crossing boundaries, of breaking down barriers. She speaks to us of community service, of making the city and the state a better place for people to live. She speaks of leadership, of taking responsibility for the organizations and the institutions that are important to us. She speaks of generosity, generosity of time, generosity of spirit, as well as generosity with her money. Mrs. Morrison's trustee instructed that every year at our annual meeting, the terms of the gift be read aloud. It says that for the purpose of enabling said First Unitarian Church to defray, in part, the cost of furnishing religious and ethical instruction to the students and classes in the Sunday school of said church, the trustees of the May Treat Morrison Memorial Foundation shall pay, solely for the purpose aforesaid, to said church annually on or before the 31st day of December for each year, beginning with the year 1955, the entire net income of said foundation for the year ending the 30th day of November of each calendar year preceding the date of the rendition of the trustees' annual report to the congregation of said church, provided, however, no part of said income shall be used for the making of repairs, additions, or betterment to the building or premises where such Sunday school classes are conducted, nor be used for the purchase of furniture or furnishings for the said Sunday school. I have the pleasure to report that as of March 31st, 2019, Mrs. Morrison's gift of $10,000 has grown to a principal amount of almost $165,000. And I have an even greater pleasure to report that for the 2018 and 2019 year, the payout from the May Treat Morrison Memorial Foundation to the religious education program of this church is $7,724 in the 80th year following Mrs. Morrison's death.
My arm was getting tired in that video. I kept on tilting because I had to hold it.
I think we're done there. Yeah. That's good. Just put on back in the first one. Yeah. There you go. Perfect. So we have a few more people to thank before we have the result of the balloting announced. We couldn't do our daily jobs here without the staff of the center and the sextons. And I see Syra leaving the room, but she should stay. Nathan is right beside her. Jonathan, as always, is behind his camera, making sure that other people are informed about what we're doing. Our sextons are out and about, probably cleaning things up. Joe, are you here? Joe in the back. Joe is the person who put the annual report together, chose and selected the pictures for it, did this lovely cover. Thank you, Joe. Good job. We also have ministers to thank who are not with us and some who are. Allison, I see you in the back. Is our RE minister. Is Mary here? Mary, you are here. Good. Thank you. For many people, this might be the last time you see Mary. She's retiring in August. So she won't be with us next year, which will be truly sad. So now could I have Gail or Rochelle come and announce who won to become the new board members and the nominating committee members?
Great suspense, I know. I am happy to say that we have 3 new members of the nominating committee and 5 new members of the board. I guess they're not all new, some are incumbents, but everybody was elected pretty much unanimously.
Wonderful. Thank you. Stay here. Thank you. I wanted to also acknowledge Mary again. I'm going to miss her a lot. So thank you, Mary. I knew we wouldn't see you. And now it's time to announce the Anne Dillon Recipient Award. I'm going to let Gail talk.
So, best laid plans and all that. The Anne Dillon Award is named for a woman who was a behind-the-scenes kind of person. If there were suddenly clean cloths in the kitchen, probably Anne had taken them home and washed them. Somebody needed visiting and it wasn't announced to the community, but somehow Anne knew and she would go visit them. She was just that kind of person who was always doing things for the church behind the scenes. And so every year we give an award in her honor, which I'm sure she would be pleased that we are thinking about other people in that same sort of way. I think she'd be embarrassed that she had her name on an award, but she would be very happy that we were thinking about one another. So every year we give an award to someone who has been in the church and doing the sort of behind-the-scenes quiet work that Anne was known for. And the person who we selected for this year is off doing exactly that right now. And so she's not here for us to give her an award to. So we will do it at another time, perhaps during a church service, sometime coming up when we know that she will be here with us. So still to come, information about that.
We did try, but I think it just exemplifies the kind of person this recipient is, and the way Anne was, that she's not here, that she put her friend in need above coming to the church to receive an award. So I think that's a pretty wonderful thing. And we didn't actually tell her she'd won the award. We told her that there was another award that she needed to be here for, which was a complete ruse. But that's as it may be. So we have now approved our minutes from last year. We've thanked all of the wonderful people that do work here in the church and volunteer. We have elected our board members and nominating committee members for the coming year, to which I'm very thankful. Is there other business before the community before we adjourn? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Thank you, Stephen. And Kathleen? We second it? Thank you. Thank you. So it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn the annual meeting of 2019 of the First Unitarian Universalist Society of San Francisco. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? There is more food and sandwiches, though, so don't leave before you get some cookies at least. Thank you.
You adjourned.